National's plan to crack down on teen beneficiaries has been criticised for missing the point. Instead of worrying about what young people are spending their money on, critics say focus should be on creating jobs. Although schemes have been established to try and combat the issue, it doesn't seem to be working. Youth unemployment is higher than ever. Joining me now is Prime Minister John Key. Good morning, Prime Minister.
Morning, Rachel.
The changes that we've made, the introduction, or the changes that you plan to make, the introduction of these payment cards, the reality is we're talking about just over 2,500 teenagers here. That's really hardly a sweeping change. It's not going to save the country millions, is it?
Yeah, I mean, the purpose isn't necessarily to save the country millions. The purpose is to make sure that there's some order and some help for these young people. And I think it's worth putting a bit of perspective around the numbers. I mean, firstly, the plan isn't just about the payment card. That's one element of it. It's actually the most probably critical bit is outsourcing to a third-party provider a wraparound service to sit with, walk with and help the young person in all elements of their life. So making sure that they're getting back into some sort of training or education, maybe attending parenting courses, could be drug or alcohol courses, helping them generally through their life. So very intensive case management. Yes, money management in so much that we make sure that their rent and food and power is paid. But let's be honest here, we're talking about very young people, 16, 17 or 18, raising a baby, isolated and on their own. And the third thing is making sure there are those training places. Now, it's true that's 2,600 odd people, or whatever it is, in that order, about 4,000 if you go up to 18. But it's also a service we're providing for every 16 and 17-year-old that leaves school that is currently not in work, training or education. Now, the reason for that, in terms of the first bit, because they don't get a benefit, is that there's about 13,500 of them. And we know that about 90% of them will go on a benefit. So you put that two together, that's about 20,000. And if I could just make one final point, people talk about youth unemployment. Yes, plenty of challenges there, a lot of work for us to keep doing. But on the unemployment benefit at the moment, aged 18 to 24, is 16,000 people. So 20,000 versus 16,000, you're starting to get a bit better metric.
OK, I think many were predicting, Prime Minister, that you would really shake up the welfare system. The fact that you haven't suggests, perhaps to me at least, that you're trying to hold on to as many votes as possible at the moment. Is that because you want to govern alone?
No, this is about making sure that the welfare system works as it was designed, I believe, and with a sense of mutual obligation in terms of those who pay for it and those who receive it. At the end of the day, yes, of course, we're fighting an election, but we've been quite transparent about what we're doing. I mean, what I've said is actually there'll be reform of the welfare system, probably right across the board in various different parts, but you take that bite by bite. I mean, it's got to be thoughtfully and carefully done. This is a system that affects the better part of a bit over 500,000 New Zealanders.
OK. OK. Do you accept, though, that it is the holy grail to govern alone, though? The polls suggest you're getting close to that?
Well, every political leader, I mean, it wouldn't matter really whether you went to Don Brash or Peter Dunn, or Peter Sharples or anybody else, the answer is they want to maximise their party vote, and so does National. And if we get a strong party vote, then we can form stable government. And in the end, I think New Zealand actually needs stable government, because I think the next 3 years, inevitably will still be choppy. I think New Zealand will do a lot better, but as we saw last week, it's volatile. But I mean, in the end, all you can do in an election is go to the people of New Zealand and say, well, look, this is our ideas. This is what we think is the right direction for the country. This is the team and the leadership we bring to the table. And in the end, you as New Zealanders need to decide who you want to govern the country and with what groupings. OK.
Is there more welfare reform to come before the election?
Yeah, my sense is yes. There will be other areas that we're looking at. And I think we're making some quite good progress. I mean, we talked, I think, on the show last week about Future Focus, where we're getting people who've been on unemployment benefit for 12 months or more to re-register. That saw 7,400 people drop off the system. So there's a lot of subtle changes along the way that we're making. We're not arguing there isn't a very important and critical role for welfare, and I've been the first to admit I was the beneficiary of a welfare state, and we're not abandoning that. What we are saying is when you have over 300,000 New Zealanders of working age on a benefit, supporting over 220,000 children, and the bulk of those children now being brought up in poverty, we need to change that system for the better.
OK, let's talk about youth wage rates. Then we do have high youth unemployment. That is fact. To stimulate youth unemployment, will you consider a return to youth wage rates?
Well, look, that overall issue is being considered in so much that it is one factor to try and tackle high levels of youth unemployment. So as I said earlier, if you go and actually have a look at the real youth unemployment rate, it's 16,000 approximately. Now, it's down from 23,000 at the start of January 2010. But what we know is that those youth unemployment rates are considerably higher than the adult unemployment rate. So above about 24, the unemployment rate's 4.5%. So we need to look at all the factors that might work.
And one of those, sorry, Prime Minister, one of those is a return to those youth wage rates. That is being considered?
No, well, look, yeah, we will consider it. I wouldn't say we'll necessarily carry that out. I mean, we have a training wage at the moment, works for 200 hours. So, yeah, look, it's a factor, but I wouldn't want people to think it's the only factor, because I think if that's the only reason someone's getting employed, we're probably getting off on the wrong track here. So, look, we'll consider that. We'll come up with a clear position on that. Before the election, New Zealanders will get a chance to have a look at it. But I think as part of an overall package, it might be considered, but I wouldn't want to say it's front and centre stage. I really don't think it is.
All right. Prime Minister John Key, thank you very much for your time this morning.
OK, Rachel. Thanks a lot.